moderate me. Cool, there are cracks in the road we lay, but where the temple fell, the secret have gone mad. This is nothing new, but when we killed it all, the hate was all we had. Who needs another mess? We could start over. Just look me in the eyes and say I'm wrong. Now there's only emptiness, but I'm missing something. I think we're good, I'm not the only one. And the rain will kill us all. Throw ourselves against the wall, but no one else can see the preservation of the moderate me. Preservation of the moderate man.
Software version 7.0, looking at life through the eyes of a tire hub. Eating seeds is a pastime.